The AllStar app, the #1 app in the business. UFC, Bellator, One Championship, PFL, and more. Get the app right now. Link in description. All right, Bubba. Man, I remember covering you during your Brave days, man, when you were coming up, becoming the champ over there. And now
Yes,
you're
sir.
coming up and you're on your way to becoming the champ for the PFL. This is your second season. You had the first season in 2021. 2022 has been phenomenal for you. What have been the difference makers, do you believe, for this season that has made you perform at the level you're performing at?
Well, I'm not fighting for my children's inheritance in a sense. I was going through a divorce, going through a lot of things in my personal life, and just kind of getting acclimated after COVID hit, and everything with life that is after COVID, getting bills, finances, everything back in order. Then also fighting for my marriage and stuff like that. I just had so much going on, and then being in a new organization, touching money that I've never touched, being in a new city in Las Vegas, dealing with stardom and everything that has to come with that. You got to be in the right place in the right mind. You got to have that lifestyle of a fighter's mentality, and that was something that was off and that was missing last time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that watch the sport, they don't realize how things outside the sport or outside the cage can affect you inside the cage, and just
100%.
yeah, it's understandable, man. Now you have all that figured out. You've ran through the competition. You beat Bokniak, Exon, Kudo. Fighters are their worst critics, right? Which fight was the most disappointing for you?
None of the fights this year. I won every round. I won every minute of every round in all of the fights this year. I took no steps backwards. Um, Even when I had my eye closed from Boshiak, I still was coming forward, landing the bigger and stronger punches. Yeah, shit. All of them were really good. Give me my kudos.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Sometimes you do have to give yourself your kudos, man. Um, I saw you said that you're a sober bird. Is that right? Like, is that true? Like, you're sober? Like, I saw that in
Yeah,
an
I don't.
interview.
I don't drink alcohol. I mean, cannabis is. I don't consider cannabis a drug. So when I talk about sober bird, I just don't drink alcohol. I'm on a covenant with the Lord, and we've made an agreement together to do certain things to make sure that I not only achieve greatness in this championship and $1 million, but show most everyday people that abundant life that we speak of.
Sure. And at the highest level, that could be the difference maker, right? You see guys win and they're celebrating, they're getting drunk, like that's something that can separate you from the pack, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's all about mentality. It's all about the mindset. I don't think that those guys who drink or have a good time after their wins or stuff like that. I don't think they have a lesser of a chance to win than the next time. It really is about your mentality and your mindset. If you can be that type of have that type of mentality to not be sober and go out there. Some guys fight better when they're not sober, and some guys fight better when they are. There's different things, there's different mindset to everybody. And however, because if you ask Lawrence Taylor from back in his Giants footballs days, if he wanted to be a sober bird, a lot of you guys wouldn't like the sober bird Lawrence Taylor. You wouldn't have that type of defensive player that you've had. So, to each their own. Really, really, to each their own. To each person has a father. They have a relationship with that father. Whatever they believe is what they believe. So, truly, to each their own.
Damn, you pulled out the Lawrence Taylor. A lot of kids nowadays, they wouldn't even know who that is. But uh, let's just say John Jones is an extreme example of that, right?
The watered down, not like truly Lawrence Taylor was different than John Jones. John Jones was a young man who was given a lot of power and a lot of, I know John. We did the Ultimate Fighter show. I was his wrestling coach. So he was just a young guy who got a lot of power in one of the fastest growing sports. So at the time, everything was the right recipe for him to kind of have that Justin Bieber badass effect. Just too
Yeah.
much power, too young, too quickly, and you get some kind of results like that where they naturally, immaturely make bad decisions in the public eye. And that's just being young.
Now back to you, man. Brendan Loughnane, your next opponent, big money fight, title on the line. Would you consider him a well-rounded fighter?
Absolutely, absolutely. He's had so many victories, so many wins against really good fighters. He's fought in so many different levels, so many different rounds. He's been able to get away from wrestlers in the past. He's been able to take some guys down. He took Kudo down a number of times. So him being a really good kickboxer and striker, and then having those takedowns abilities. I haven't really seen him go for submissions like that, but I can't say that he's not a full well-rounded fighter if I don't agree that I am, because I believe that I'm a well-rounded fighter and I don't really try or even look for submissions in that manner. So truly, I think he's a well-rounded fighter and a formidable opponent.
Do you feel like his cardio is his best attribute?
No.
All right.
If I look at some of his fights, he looks as tired as anybody else. He goes, "Oh, Bubba Jenkins is only a 3-round fighter." Well, fuck. How many 5-round fights have I had in the PFL? Go ahead. I'll wait. How many 5-round fights have I had in the PFL? None. So I haven't needed to be a 5-round fighter. That doesn't even make sense. But because he has this whole Bubba Jenkins is a 3-round fighter, we made sure that I'm gonna knock his ass out in the 4th round. We're gonna make sure of it. But with that being said, I don't believe his conditioning is his biggest attribute, because he looked tired in the 2nd round versus Kudo. He looked tired in the 2nd round versus Tyler Diamond. He looked tired in the 3rd round versus Loughnane. His conditioning isn't impressive to me. His durability is good. His durability is good. He's there at the end of every round. He's there. Durability is good, but conditioning, he's not running folks over.
Yeah, he is a tough dude. Now you're wrestling, man. Is this in this matchup you're wrestling? Is it like bringing a gun to a knife fight?
It is. It is. He has no ability how to stop my wrestling. There's no ability in him to be able to stop me from not only suplexing him, but taking him down. And just because he gets up or gets away, that's a part of the program. That's a part of the plan. If I drown him, if I take him, me being the alligator, if I snatch his neck off and I put him in the water and he fights his way out of the water, that's okay. We didn't eat him that time, but I'm also an alligator. I'll come up out the water, get up on land, strike with his ass, let him think that, we land creatures, and I'll snatch him up again and put him in the water. And the more times I put him in the water, the more times he's got to drag himself out the water, the more times he's going to drown eventually. And it's a 5-round fight. I'm going to be there every minute.
BMA, Batman Airlines. How many flights are you predicting in this fight?
I got a go and a return. I got a coming and returning. I got him going back to England and returning back to Madison Square Garden. So, full-fledged. What is it? What do they call it? Round trip. I got a round trip.
Round trip.
First class, all the amenities, drinks, everything that he needs. No seatbelt, all the comfortability. I even got him a blanket and a pillow, so he's gonna be good.
You talked about in the media day about like paths to victory, right? Every fight that you take, there's a different path. You could use your wrestling to get the victory. You could use your hands to get the victory, because you've become this MMA wrestler with solid striking. What do you see in this one? Do you feel like the knockout will be there, or do you feel like the wrestling is the path? Because the $1 million is right at the end of the end of the road.
Right. No. I always, as a wrestler, as a national champ, as a world champion, I always believe my wrestling is the key to victory. But it's a mixed martial arts championship. Me being able to mix it up in all of the martial arts, showing him a little bit of wrestling feints, then adding some punches and some kicks in there, faking this takedown, throwing some overhand. There's going to be some things that are just going to downright confuse him with the fear of wrestling. He knows, I know, we all know, if I grab his ass, I'm a Mav lead him. I'm a vet for sure, show him what the Mav lead, the better version of Mav lead looks like. And he couldn't figure out how to deal with the Mav lead, who's not a top controller like us American wrestlers. They have a different style, those Dagestanians and Augustanians and Magomedovs. It's not Division I collegiate style grappling and wrestling. There's a difference in it. And if I get a hold of Loughnane the way Mavlit did, I will be able to show the world not only that difference, but I'll be able to show Loughnane why I am who I am.
You just mentioned the wrestling, right? You have the folk style wrestling, the American wrestling versus, you talked about it against the Dagestani wrestling in MMA. You mentioned Khabib as an outlier. What do you think makes him such a puzzle?
Mentality. His mentality is different. You can't keep up with his pace. You can't keep up with that type of mentality over and over constantly. That type of focus, that type of energy, best abilities, availability. He's been there for every one of his fights. He's been in great shape. What makes him different is what's between his ears. Everyone can do the how many pull-ups, how many push-ups, how many runs he can do. It's putting it all together at the right time and then having the right mindset to tone in or pulled back or release or reflect, respond, react. There's different things that have to happen during a fight that some people just aren't smart enough to see. Some people aren't physically strong enough to see, but when you're physically strong enough, you're smart, you're locked in, you're focused, and you don't have any outside barriers bearing down on you, you can become one of the best fighters in the world. And yeah, there's a little bit of luck in that. There's a little bit of being available and not getting hurt and things like that, but for the most part, it's everything between your ears, because even when you get knick-knack injuries, a weak man can say, "Nah, I'm pulling out of this fight." A strong-minded man with the right team around him can say, "Nah, this isn't going to stop me from being able to beat that guy across the corner."
Capturing this title, right, the toughest tournament in the world, where do you believe it puts you in the realm of the MMA world?
I'm a top 5 fighter in 145 pounds right now. You can't put 4 guys on your hand that I feel after I win this world title that can actually beat me. They're all arguably Volkanovski's better. Arguably, AJ McKee's done some good things. Arguably Pitbull, yada yada yada. But at the end, when I destroy Loughnane the way I'm going to destroy him, I used to train with McKee. Pitbull has declined fights with me on short notices. Volkanovski can't wrestle or strike, or he's not the athlete that I am. Everybody talks about how strong these guys are. Bro, talk to the fighters. Talk to the fighters. Don't go off of what you see on TV. Or talk to the fighters. They know. Them soon know. I've been this guy. I've been a national champion since 2011. It's 2021. It's been 10 years of me learning how to be a mixed martial arts champion. And I've achieved that in Brave a couple of times. Now I'm getting the grasp of how to be an all-star great, an absolute great in the sport, how to mix it up, how to talk, how to entertain, how to fight, how to grapple, how to strike, how to just bar brawl. The fight game has so many different perspectives and aspects to it. One day you'll see a Conor McGregor who loses to Poirier, and then one day you'll see a Poirier who loses to Conor McGregor. The fight game is so different in that aspects that the years come down to a culmination of a career. And if you're not built right, you ain't gonna be that guy.
After you win this title, will you be the hottest free agent, the hottest commodity in the MMA world? Do you feel that?
Absolutely, 100%. I'll be a free agent. I'll have money in my bank account. I have the world at my fingers. I'll be the hottest free agent. I'll be one of the most powerful mixed martial artists in mixed martial arts at that moment. Who will have a championship, the bank account, and the world after them at that moment, like I will.
November 25th, man, you get your chance. PFL 2022 championships, MSG, New York City. If you want more about the event, go download the AllStar app in the descriptions. Bubba Jenkins, the Batman, thank you so much, man. That was one of the best interviews I've ever done.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate you for having me. Anytime you need it again, I'm here, buddy. Batman Jenkins, we on.